Hi, guys. All right, we got our last book in the Helen Lester series. This one's called Author, A True Story. And this is an autobiography because she wrote the story about herself. And Helen Lester has only illustrated two books, and this is the first book that she ever illustrated. So, the first book that she drew the pictures to. So, I really like this book because it encourages us all to be writers. And you guys are all really great writers in our class. So this book encourages us with that. Author A True Story by Helen Lester. Let me peek on the back real quick. There's a little picture of her. And it says, in the course of telling her life story, Lester tells youngsters how she writes, why she writes, and what it's like to be an author. So get ready. A long time ago, there lived a 3-year-old author, me. I was the best grocery list writer in the world and a huge help to my mother. There's her list. Lovely. When I wrote a word, I knew exactly what it said. And the fun part was that I could turn each list upside down and the word said the same thing. I think I made hundreds of these useful lists for my mother, and she never once said, "No, thank you, dear, I have enough." So Helen's lists are obviously not real words. So let me change my Chromebook. Sorry, guys. Obviously, those lists are not real words, and she's being funny when she calls these useful lists. Then I went to school and I learned to make what they called real letters. My writing was the prettiest in the class with straight lines and round lines. It was perfect, and it was perfectly backwards. I didn't just mix B's and D's. That's too easy to do because they look so much alike. The letter started at the right, well, wrong side of the paper and marched across pretty as could be, and backwards. There's a name for somebody with this problem. I was a mirror writer. My teachers had to hold my work up to a mirror to understand what I had written. Sometimes things are hard to learn. Helen is having a hard time learning how to write her letters. And remember, this is a true story. This is really true about this famous author. Thanks to a lot of help, I was finally able to write in the proper direction, but writing stories was so hard for me. Often I couldn't come up with a single idea, and my stories got stuck in the middle, and I couldn't think of a title, and I had trouble making the changes my teacher wanted me to make, and I lost my pencils, and I wondered why I was doing this, and I got very frustrated. So I spent a lot of time dreaming about what I wanted to be when I grew up. So, what do these illustrations show that she wants to be when she grows up, or what she was thinking as a child? So, no one from the circus came looking for me, so I became a teacher. I learned that teachers do not live in schools, eating only crackers and milk and sleeping under their desks. I also learned that teaching was fun and that children have fantastic imaginations. So, my favorite subject to teach was writing. One day, a friend said, "You should write a children's book." And I thought, I spent 10 years in second grade, so I know a child from a chicken. Maybe I should. I went right home and I wrote a book. It was the best book I had ever written. Of course, it was the only book I had ever written. I illustrated it with my nicest drawings and I proudly sent it to a publisher. Lucky people, I thought. So, are you guys wondering what a publisher is? A publisher is a person or company that will print her book so people can buy it and read it. The lucky people sent it back and said, "No, thank you." That's called a rejection. I decided I'd never write again. Until the next day when I felt better. I wrote a second book and I sent it to a different publisher. The second publisher sent the book back and said, "No, thank you." I decided I'd never write again until the next day when I felt better. I wrote another book and another and another and another. Practice must have helped each story get a little better. For on my seventh book try, no book came back, just a yes, please. That's called an acceptance. I was beside myself with joy and excitement. I was the first author I'd ever met. I drew the pictures for my first book, and I did the pictures for this book. But usually I work with an illustrator who has been to art school and who can draw bicycles and refrigerators and pigs. This talented person draws what I would if I could. My pig. That's pretty good to me. My illustrator's pig. There's quite a difference. So here I am, an author, and every time I sit down to write, perfect words line up in perfect order, and whoomp, a perfect book pops out of the computer. Words, 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 words. Well, not exactly. Sometimes writing stories is so hard for me. I can't come up with a single idea, and my stories get stuck in the middle, and I can't think of a title, and I have trouble making the changes my editor wants me to make, and I lose my pencils, and I wonder why I'm doing this, and I get very, very frustrated. But that's sometimes. I love it best when ideas are hatching so fast I can barely write them down. I grab the nearest thing to write on and I get so excited I forget what I was doing in the first place. The ideas that come in the middle of the night are hard to read the next day. Not all the ideas are useful. I keep a whole box full of fizzled thoughts and half finished books. I call it my fizzle box. Whenever I need an idea, I can go to the box and find wonderful things. Just the name I needed. A funny word, a wise lesson. Felicity Brickhead. Fubble Whatzer. Never comb your feathers backwards. Some silly little ideas she came up with. Usually when I first think a book is finished, it really isn't. I keep going over the story again and again, looking for ways to make it better with little changes here and there. I do this until the book has to be printed. Then it's too late to do any more. The curious rodent. The rodent was curious. Nope, the rodent trembled with curiosity from crossed off his teeth to his tail. Or how about the rodent's head was stuck in a bag? Could his curiosity have led to this? So why do you guys think that she goes over her books again and again? I used to think that writing had to be done at a special time while sitting at a desk, but slowly I discovered I could write anytime and anywhere. I especially like to write when I'm bored because then I'm not anymore. Are we there yet? Try writing. Okay. Of course, writing anytime and anywhere sometimes means writing on anything. You don't have to have paper to write. Authors are lucky, for they get to meet hundreds of children through letters, school and library visits, and at autographing sessions. I didn't always like autographing books. The first time I autographed, my table was next to the table of a very famous author. I was not a very famous author. Her line had no end. My line had no beginning. I'm glad I didn't join the circus. Even though writing is sometimes hard work, it's what I love to do. I never dreamed I'd become an author, so this is better than a dream come true. And that is the end of our Helen Lester series. I hope you guys enjoyed them as much as I did. Those are really fun books. It's Friday, so you guys have just a little bit more work, and then you're off to the weekend. And I hope you're spending some fun time with your family. And thank you guys so much for trying so hard on Seesaw. I know it's a lot different than school, but I really appreciate the effort you've been putting in. That's awesome. You guys are amazing. Love y'all. Bye.